Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Run the Nation right here, TYT Nation. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf. Boy, what an amazing day that we have today. We got a lot of stories to talk about. We got a lot of things that's going on. And then, of course, we continue to have the YouTube advertiser, YouTube apocalypse that's going on. I'm not going to mention too much about that, but I do want to thank some people that have helped us out. We've got a little bit on Steve Bannon. I'm not going to go into that too in depth, but that is kind of breaking news, and it is kind of important. There's a good side, and then there is definitely a downside on that as well. So, that's what we've got. Also, let's see, we got a new poll on Trumpcare. Or, I'm sorry, Obamacare. Then we've got another story on Trumpcare as well. More details into what they plan to do. Then we have the Koch brothers essentially running the government. That's an amazing story. Big shout out to the people over at The Intercept, Lee Fong. Guy's awesome. We got Ivanka Trump not knowing what complicit means. And then Kylie Jenner. Or I'm sorry, not Kylie Jenner, Kendall Jenner. I get them confused because they're the same people, essentially. Seems like the same people, but we got Kendall Jenner. We get the Pepsi ad that is disastrous. And the response to that, which is awesome. We're going to talk about that today. I want to show you that video and then give you my response and then what they're actually doing about it. Because Pepsi has issued a response to this. So, very interesting story. I got a great show lined up for you guys today. Again, I want to thank everybody who's joining, who shares this video, who likes this video. And also, I do want to thank the patrons. I got a whole bunch of you to read off. One that does not want me to read them off, though I'm not sure which one that is. So I'm not going to use last names to make sure to protect everybody's privacy. But I do want to thank a lot of people. We had over 30 people sign up to become a patron just from yesterday. Amazing. I love you guys. Okay, you're awesome. You're absolutely amazing. You're helping keep us afloat. Because right now, I mean, I don't know if you've seen just how bad this is. Secular Talk lost 90% of their revenue. The David Pakman Show lost 95% of their YouTube revenue. I lost somewhere around, I don't know, I'm guesstimating around over 70% around that. So we have all taken a huge hit. I believe I seen Kyle on Twitter saying that he made for a day $7. Wow. Lucky me, I made about $30 yesterday. And so, again, absolute disaster when you're used to making a lot more than that. So, ouch. It has been it has been an absolute disaster. We have been crushed by this. And so, thank you for everybody who's come to the rescue, who has stepped up. We passed 44,000 subscribers on this channel. If 1% of you chipped in $3 to $5, we'd be set forever. That would be enough to pay my bills, keeping the necessities going, and basically keep us afloat. I'm not going to be living high on the hog. It's just going to be enough to do the show and pay the bills and not starve. That's awesome. So 1% of you guys were to donate $3 to $5 a month through our Patreon campaign. That's the goal. We can do that. We can survive, and that is, that's the goal here. The goal right here is to make it through this, so that we can continue to have a show. Because again, I love doing this. I love talking to you guys. I love talking about important issues and talking about politics and what the Trump administration is doing, fighting back against them, fighting against the corporate establishment. For the Democrats and the Republicans. I love doing this stuff. And so thanks to everybody who stepped up and who's allowing me to do that. But again, in order to survive, we're going to need to do more. So, but I want to give a thanks to everybody who signed up. Old patrons, new patrons, old patrons, thank you. But I do want to shout out some of the newest ones. Justin M, Christina K, Elizabeth Y, Ramiro L, IB K, Andrew Na, Perry R, you're awesome. Scott Hunter, you're also awesome. You're all awesome. Joseph T, and Julio. There's a lot more. Francisco, Jacqueline, Nicole, Marie, Timothy, Courtney, Ramona L, Matthew F, Paul P, Ramon R. You know, all these, all you people. Timothy D, I don't know if I've read you off. Caesar L, Anne, Jane L, all of you, Linda M, Stephen E, Caleb C, all of you, Isaac G, everybody. And that's just like from the last 2 days. So you've really stepped up. You've really helped me out a lot. And I couldn't thank you more from the bottom of my heart. So thank you for supporting independent progressive media. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys want, you know, bonus content, let me know what kind of bonus content you guys want me to do, and I want to do it, just for you guys. And if you sign up as a patron, everybody gets the full show unedited, so on YouTube, video, all that stuff. So, I mean, you know, you don't have to go and hunt it down. It's right there. It's going to be posted every day, the full unedited live show. So that, of course, unfortunately, that includes all the breaks and stuff, but you could fast forward through that. Or, you know, all that stuff. So that's at least what you get right now. And I'm working on trying to get more stuff to offer you guys for your support. So thank you again. Thank you. All right. Anyway, let's roll it out and let's start out. Let's just do some stories here. And let's talk about a poll. Okay. There's a poll that I want to talk about. And it's on the ACA. So, all right. Now, it's been widely reported that some Republicans seem to want to take another crack at Obamacare, even after the disastrous failure that is Trumpcare. Now, Trump and the Freedom Caucus, it's reported, they're continuing to negotiate for a repeal and replacement plan, even as Obamacare itself becomes more and more popular, since the Republican plan has been shown to have been far, far worse for the American people. Now, that doesn't mean the ACA doesn't already have its problems, and we can't ignore that. But also, the ACA is much better than the ACHA, so the American Healthcare Plan. So, now, according to a new poll, more people would rather fix those issues than scrap the law entirely. So we've seen, since the election of Donald Trump, a lot more people saying, hey, you know what I want to do? I don't want to get rid of Obamacare. Turns out I didn't really mean that. I actually want to fix it now, since we realize how important this is. So, okay. Now, let's see. A new Kaiser Health tracking poll has found out that a vast majority of Americans want the Trump administration to protect, save, and expand Obamacare. Now, the poll found that 75% of respondents said that the current administration should, quote, do what they can to make the health care law functional. Okay. Well, if you want it to stay functional, well, maybe you should not touch it, just not do anything. That wouldn't make it functional, wouldn't fix any of the problems, but it would still work. Okay. All right. Now, I'm not in that camp, as you guys know. I think there needs to be improvements to the ACA as we transition ourselves away from a for-profit healthcare system to a Medicare for all type of system. But look, I digress, okay? Now, only 19% of respondents said President Trump should do what he can to make the law fail, like he said. So, yeah, remember Trump's like, hey, man, if you don't pass this law, I'm just going to let Obamacare fail. 20% of people were like, yes, make it fail. Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Now, that's actually not bad as far as polling goes. So 20%, that's a very small minority. So 19% of people polled are assholes. They want it to fail. Okay, that's not bad. Broken down by party affiliation, you will not be surprised to find that 19% of those people are Republicans. Okay, that 19% of assholes that want it to fail are all pretty much Republicans. Now, the poll says, quote, the desire to make Obamacare work was particularly strong among Democrats and independents, with 89% of Democrats and 78% of independents urging the administration to make a positive effort. A majority of Republicans, however, also favored trying to make Obamacare work, while 38% want the administration to do what it can to make the law fail. 51% want the president and his team to do what they can to make it work. So that 19% mostly is made up of Republicans that are like, we don't care about healthcare. We don't care about you. Make it fail so that I can get some tax cuts. Interesting. Now, again, even a majority of Republicans, probably the ones that just recently found out that Obamacare and the EST are the same exact thing, are saying, hey, let's make the law better, cover everybody, decrease premiums, do all that. Now, ironically, I read a Vox article this recently. I know, right? Where there's like, I went to Trump country and I got most Trump supporters to agree on single payer. Now, why is that? No, he kind of went into it and was like, well, it's not exactly the fact that, you know, it covers everyone or that it's such a better system. But actually, it is a better system. But he said, tried to frame it in a way, I guess, where Trump supporters were more concerned about equality of care. Hey, why should those people on Medicaid get better coverage than us who are paying for health insurance premiums? That's not fair. Well, that's a perfect reason to make a single-payer Medicare for all system where everybody pays the same. Or, I'm sorry, everybody gets the same amount of care paid for by taxes. Okay, there you go. Again, Medicare for all, we all want that same level of care, and that promise that we're gonna all have health care when we need it. Okay, so let's get to the disastrous failure of Trumpcare. How do people feel about that? Now, the poll also found that 64% of Americans believe that the GOP's failure to pass its Obamacare repeal bill was a good thing. 64% of Americans like, oof, man, we're glad that was over. That was a train wreck. That dumpster fire of a bill. Thank goodness that did not pass, because that would have hurt. Because again, all the experts in the CBO said it would throw 24 million people off their health insurance. It would raise premiums, especially for older people or sicker people, and would end up delivering less health care while simultaneously cutting taxes for the wealthiest among us. But we don't like that. We don't want the rich to get a tax cut. But again, that's what the whole entire repeal nonsense was about. The only thing they wanted to repeal was the taxes from Obamacare, the Medicare tax. Okay, the taxes that would affect the smallest amount of households. Remember, the average household of the 400 richest people in America would receive a $7 million tax cut. So there's that. Okay, now the American people, again, we're not interested in any of that. They actually want cheaper, more affordable health care. Even Trump supporters want single payer because it is cheaper, more affordable, okay, and it covers everyone. It covers what they need. And Obamacare, while it is a step in the right direction, it is not quite where we need to go. We need to go further. We need to expand to Medicare for all. Now, how do people feel about the failure of Trumpcare? See, this is important for the context for the next story that we're going to do. 52% of Americans said that they felt relieved that Republicans were unable to pass a health care bill, and 44% felt happy. So again, a lot of people sighing, breathing a sigh of relief, while just 40% said we were disappointed following the failure of the bill, with 20% again being angry. People got to keep their health care. I am so angry about that. Goddamn, I don't want them to have health care. I want to have health care. I don't want them to have health care. Them poor people. So there you have it. A majority of the American people like the ACA. They want to keep it and eventually expand it and to work with Democrats and not the extreme right to actually fix it and not destroy it. So look, the American people have spoken, and they don't want Trumpcare, and they don't just want to keep Obamacare the same. They actually want to fix it. They actually want to expand it, and that seems to be the opposite of what the Trump administration is looking to do. Okay. So there's that. Now, as I said, context in the next story, we're going to talk about what's in Trumpcare. Why is it back? Okay. Now, I recently talked about polling that indicates that a majority of Americans want Donald Trump to not destroy the ACA, but to actually work with the Democrats to try and fix the ACA. Turns out a majority of Democrats and independents and Republicans do not want a repeal of the health care bill, nor do they want the GOP replacement plan put forward by the extremely right-wing Freedom Caucus. They looked at that and they were like, "Ooh, boy, that bill sucks, dude. We do not want this." So now what's the White House going to do? They're going to try and repeal and replace Obamacare again by negotiating with the Freedom Caucus, the extreme right wing, to try and pass Trumpcare. Of course. Now, The Hill is reporting that White House officials have presented an offer to the conservative House Freedom Caucus earlier this week. They see this week as they seek to revise the Obamacare replacement plan. Mike Pence and other White House officials presented an idea at the Freedom Caucus meeting to allow states to choose to apply waivers to repeal two Obamacare regulations that conservatives think are driving up premiums. Now, these two regulations detail Obamacare's essential health benefits, which mandate which health services insurers must cover, and community rating, which prevents insurers from charging sick people a higher premium. Now, conservatives have previously called for the bill to repeal those regulations outright. But the deal now being discussed would give the states a choice by allowing them to apply for a waiver from the federal government. So let me explain, okay, why this is a bad idea, and first what they are, and then why it's a bad idea to get rid of these. Okay. So now, community ratings, as I explained, prevent insurers from charging sick people higher premiums. Meaning that if you get insurance and you get cancer, well, your premium won't skyrocket to the point of where it's unaffordable. Yes, it might go up a little bit, but it can't go up past a certain point to where you can no longer afford it. These community ratings say you've got to stay within this certain range. Okay, that's good. Now, that means that your premium will still be affordable, by the way. So as you get treatment, which is also expensive. Now, conservatives seem to argue that this is bad. They think this is a bad thing. Well, if we don't charge sick people exorbitant premiums, well, that means everybody else's premiums go up. While that is sort of true, that's kind of how insurance works. Now, healthier people, for example, they pay into the pool so that sick people can afford to also get coverage and treatment. Now, if you eliminate community ratings, your cancer patient, for example, well, they can no longer afford their health insurance. They have to drop out, and then they die. Sad. I mean, look, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do when that happens? Say they remove those community ratings. Your premiums go up. You're sick. You can't afford your insurance. You can't afford cancer treatment. What are you supposed to do? Well, Republicans to say, well, don't worry about it. Just pay your cancer treatments out of pocket. Don't worry. We're not worried about you. We're not concerned about what you're doing. I don't care. I don't give a crap. Just pay it out of pocket. And if you can't, sad day for you. Well, these people often cannot afford these treatments because they are tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on what treatment you actually need. Now, if you don't have that money, well, sad day for you. Well, just get insurance then. I mean, that's what you're supposed to get. No, you're missing the point. These people can't afford insurance. That is the problem here. And the response to that is, I guess you die then. Look, that's not an exaggeration, too. That's not hyperbole. That's what actually happens. If you can't afford health insurance to pay for your cancer treatments, then you die. Now, Alan Grayson summed it up perfectly, and he got a lot of heat for it. The GOP plan is, if you get sick, die. Die quickly. So, I mean, as long as you're not incredibly wealthy, if you're incredibly wealthy and you get cancer, you're absolutely fine. You're not going to go bankrupt. Now, the other thing they went after is essential health benefits. Things like maternity care, hospitalization. So you go to the hospital, that is no longer covered, or that will be no longer covered under Trumpcare. The Freedom Caucus is like, yes, let's get rid of it. People don't need to be we don't need to pay for people being hospitalized. Pfft. Get into an accident, end up going to the hospital, man, that's on you. You should have never gotten into an accident then. Right. Okay. It also, covers things like mental health care, addiction services. Addiction services. You realize that a lot of places that voted for Donald Trump are facing a huge opium epidemic. There are people that need these addiction services in these counties, these places that voted for Donald Trump, that are just getting hammered by this stuff. And now, Trumpcare is like, get rid of it. We don't need that. That should not be covered by your insurance. It's an essential health benefit, right? Not only that, outpatient care. Look, essentially this stuff, and again, maternity care, pregnancy stuff, all that stuff that some people think that, hey, man, that's never going to happen to me. I'm never going to need it. But see, the problem is, that's not how insurance works. You don't know that stuff's not going to happen to you. Or you don't know if that stuff is going to happen to you if you're going to get cancer or not. You don't see that coming. So that's why you get insurance, to cover that stuff just in case it does happen. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. You want to make sure that if this does happen, that it does not bankrupt you or your family. But Republicans don't seem to understand how insurance actually works. They think it's all about health insurance provider profits. That's what it is. Well, you just got to get the healthy people in there who are never going to take out money for their care. And so all that does is that helps our insurance company buddies make more of a profit. Well, that's what it's all about. That's how we think insurance should work. Look, you remember Paul Ryan and his ridiculous chart. The guy doesn't know that healthy people in a proper insurance market pay for sick people. Paul Ryan's like, no, we don't want that. No. That's not how insurance works, dumbass. It's not, okay? Now, these proposals, obviously, they're catering to the hard right. Now, that's not going to go over well with the so-called moderates. Representative Chris Collins, a member of the so-called Centrist Tuesday group, centrist, there is no such thing as a centrist Republican, but anyway, he argued that giving states the choice and making them meet certain standards and putting together a waiver application could allay centrist concerns. Because originally the Freedom Caucus was like, get rid of all of them. A national vote. We're going to have a national bill. We're going to get rid of these guidelines, these essential health benefits and community guidelines. Okay, community ratings gone. Well, now the so-called centrists are like, that we think that might be a little too harsh. But if you allow the states to get a waiver for that, so they don't have to offer these things, well, that's okay. We'd be okay with that. That's what's going on here. So their fix for this whole thing is let state decide if we're going to get rid of these things. So look, if you live in a red state, for example, and you depend on these essential health benefits or these community ratings to keep your premiums low, it's a sad day for you. You're out of luck. You're gone. Like, go ahead and die. And now, if you live in a blue state, if you're lucky enough to live in a blue state that keeps these provisions, well then, okay, good. You're fine. But the rest of you, the Republican Party is sending you the message that we don't give a damn. We don't care about you at all. These are the moderates. There is nothing moderate about that. And the only reason that they're saying that they're even worried about this stuff, because again, they would have voted for this bill that threw 24 million people off insurance, raised premiums for older and sicker people, and done all sorts of terrible things. Just destroyed people's coverage. They would have voted for that, but then they were worried about one thing. They didn't want to get killed in the next election. So they're like, we'll make it so that the states can do this. Okay, can take away these things. There's nothing moderate about that. Right now, what we have is right wing and extreme right wing. The people that want to give you absolutely nothing and have no health care to go back to the bad old days before the ACA. All these politicians do not care at all if you die for not being able to afford insurance. Hey man, that's your problem. That ain't my problem. That's your problem. I got great insurance. By the way, I got government insurance that you pay for. Ha ha, you're a sucker. You pay for my premiums. I get my insurance for free, and then I can work to screw you over. How the fuck is that supposed to work? Now, again, some people be like, hey, no, Jeff, look, this isn't that bad. States' rights. Not only that, but for older and sicker people, you keep talking about older and sicker people, right? Well, what about high risk pools? That's one of their plans, right? You know what? We've tried that before. Back in the times before the ACA, you know what happened? Premiums within high risk pools became too high, even with government help, for most people to afford. Again, the cost, right? Even with the government subsidies that they say that they're going to put in for these high risk pools, it's still too high for many people facing illness. And then, of course, what comes along with that in the bad old days was lifetime caps on coverage. That, again, something that they want to roll back. Meaning, what's a lifetime cap? That means essentially, once you've hit that cap of spending, you are done. If you're in the middle of treatment and you hit that cap, you hit that lifetime limit, which of course used to happen all the time, you're fucked. You're essentially gone. You got to go through your savings if you're lucky enough to have them. I know a lot of people who do not have them. You might have to go through other people's savings. I mean, your family, your friends, anybody you could borrow from. Banks, borrow money from the banks. Your house, bankrupt yourself, bankrupt your family, sell your home. And if you still need treatment and you still don't have any money, you went through all of your different options and you still need treatment, guess what? You die. That's it. There are no good options here. It's a disaster. These are the changes that they're making in this new bill. Is it any wonder that the American people overwhelmingly would rather save or fix the ACA? And it's because they've seen your bill, Republicans, and they reject it. Okay. All right. So now, big report about government corruption. All right. Now, just how far is the Trump administration in bed with the Koch brothers? Now, the Koch brothers, of course, if you don't know, are two billionaire brothers that run a network of very conservative think tanks and organizations. These organizations spend millions of dollars essentially attempting to destroy the government by putting people in it. Basically, buying our politicians and installing people that have their extreme libertarian / conservative ideology. Now, people who happen to be in the Trump administration. Now, wait a minute. So Koch brothers operatives are now inside the Trump administration. Yes. Now, let me give you the proof here. This comes from Lee Fong of The Intercept, who wrote a great article exposing these people and just how much money they've received from the Koch network before joining the Trump administration. He says, newly disclosed ethics forms revealed that a significant number of senior Trump staffers were previously employed by the sprawling network of hard-right and libertarian advocacy groups, financed and controlled by Charles and David Koch. The conservative duo hyper-focused on entrenching Republican power, eliminating taxes, and slashing environmental and labor regulations. Regulation, of course, that I have to point out that the Trump team has already been starting to work on dismantling, getting rid of. So let's talk about some of these people. Now, Mark Short, now Trump's chief liaison to Congress, had previously led Freedom Partners Chamber of Commerce, the dark money nonprofit used by the Koch brothers and their donor cohorts to dispense money to allied groups. Freedom Partners, which maintains an affiliate super PAC, was at the center of the Koch's $750 million election effort during the 2016 campaign. So remember how the Kochs were supposed to sit this one out? Oh, we didn't like Trump. We're a little iffy on Trump. So we're not going to spend the what $1 billion that we plan to spend. No, they still spent $750 million during this election. I would say they made a massive investment. Okay. Now these ethics forms show some of the connections that were previously known and some that were unknown. Now these forms, made available to the public last week, reveal a number of previously undisclosed financial ties between the Koch network and Trump's inner circle of political aides. Now, one of them being Donald McGahn. Now, Donald McGahn is Trump's campaign attorney turned White House counsel. Now, he provided legal services to a range of outside Koch groups working to influence the election. McGahn, through the law firm Jones Day, advised Freedom Partners as well as I-360, the Koch's big data firm set up to identify and target voters, and Americans for Prosperity, the election advocacy and grassroots lobbying organization run by the Koch brothers. Now, you also had Ann Donaldson. McGahn's chief of staff came to the White House from McGahn's law firm. Her financial disclosure shows that she also provided legal services to Freedom Partners and I-360. The next one, you are going to know who this is. She is a frequent topic on the show, and that's Kellyanne Conway. Now, Kellyanne Conway is Trump's former campaign manager, turned close White House advisor. Now, she consulted over the last year for American for Prosperity's National Foundation, as well as the Michigan and Ohio chapters of the group. Conway served as a board member for the Independent Women's Forum, which is a Koch-backed group whose goal is, quote, increasing the number of women who value free markets and personal liberty. Because look, if it's one thing that I know that women want, it's to have bootstraps chucked at them. That's what that means. Oh, free markets, personal liberty. Right. Except when it comes to abortion, by the way. Abortion rights, reproductive rights. That stuff, no, let's not have that much freedom. Let's scale back the freedom there, boys. All right. Freedom, man. Bootstraps. All right. So now these people have advocated these positions through obviously intense lobbying. Fong explains. Koch groups were active in battleground states that proved critical to Trump's victory. Americans for Prosperity employed 650 staff members during the campaign, with many stationed in Florida, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Hampshire, and Missouri. The field staff, using the new data tools from I-360, focused on making sure Republican voters made it to the polls. Now, in these states, Americans for Prosperity also aired negative ads attacking Hillary Clinton in the last weeks of the campaign, linking her to the Democratic candidates and problems allegedly caused by the Affordable Care Act. The ads, which blanketed swing state television stations, held Clinton responsible for health care with, quote, higher cost, lost coverage, lost doctors. Ironically, that same health care bill that they hammered her with is now more popular than Trumpcare. Hilarious. Now, of course, they spent this money in the hopes that Donald Trump would win, obviously, and start appointing people in order to wipe out regulations. In fact, Freedom Partners Vice President Andy Koenig told the Los Angeles Times after the election that his group hoped that Trump would, quote, walk in with an eraser and wipe out as many Obama-era reforms as possible. The group formulated, quote, a roadmap to repeal, which is a memo calling for the administration to prioritize revoking the Paris Climate Treaty, repealing clean water rules, and eliminating limits on pollution from coal-fired power plants. And you know what happened? That's exactly what they did. He came in and he wiped out those regulations. In fact, this is how they did it. Trump and congressional leaders have used a little-known procedure called the Congressional Review Act to swiftly roll back the very regulations identified in this Koch memo. So, word for word, every single regulation that is outlined that Donald Trump could repeal using this Congressional Review Act, gone. So there you go. The Koch brothers got exactly what they paid for. They paid for this. Again, these regulations are now gone. Now, they have been also aided by a team that came to the White House policy staff directly from the Koch network. Well, let me explain. Koenig, the former Freedom Partners vice president, is now working in the White House as a policy assistant. Koenig's financial disclosure showed that he made $320,000 at the group before moving through this revolving door. In addition, Andrew Bremberg, now the director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, and Bethany Scully, an official working in Trump's Office of Legislative Affairs, both worked for Freedom Partners. Bremberg's disclosure shows that he consulted for the group through a consulting firm he owns called Right Policy LLC. That revolving door, man. The Trump policy team also includes Brian Blaze, a special assistant to the president working on healthcare issues, who came to the White House from the Mercatus Center, the Koch network think tank at George Mason University. A number of Vice President Mike Pence's staff also came from Koch organizations. Andelis Castillo, named earlier this year as Pence's senior aide, came from the Libre Initiative, a Latino outreach arm of the Koch network. Stephen Ford, Pence's director of speechwriting, previously worked as a speechwriter for Koch's Freedom Partners. So basically what you have is you have the Koch brothers essentially running the government now. You have so many people from these Koch networks, from these different groups, Americans for Prosperity, et cetera, Freedom Partners, coming in there with these extreme ideologies. Now they're part of the very government that they have worked so hard to try to dismantle. But again, that's the whole purpose of the Koch brothers. That's the whole purpose of their network, to eliminate regulations, to eliminate taxes, so that they can save and hoard more of their money. Again, it comes down to the money. It's all about how much money can we have, how much money can we save. We don't care about you. We don't care about government. We want to dismantle government so that we can save a buck. That's what it's all about. And now, again, you have the Koch brothers now owning having a huge amount of power in the White House. Now, to be fair, that doesn't exactly mean that they'll get everything they want. In fact, on the healthcare bill, the Koch brothers network was part of the Freedom Caucus. Now, Donald Trump is not exactly happy with the Freedom Caucus. In fact, they're pretty angry with the Freedom Caucus. So they didn't get along. But again, because of so many Koch associates inside the government, why do you think Donald Trump is trying to revive this the Trumpcare bill? Even after such a devastating loss, now they're right back at it. He's negotiating with the Freedom Caucus. That's why they have so much sway, because he's got all these Koch brothers people around him that are saying, hey, no, you need to make a deal. It needs to be even more conservative. That's what's going on here. So, yes, they may disagree from time to time, but overall, they all want the same thing. Donald Trump is sitting in the pocket of the wealthy conservative donors. And if you didn't see that, you didn't think that was coming, you weren't paying attention. We were saying that all throughout the election. Both candidates were in the pockets of money and special interests. The only one that wasn't was Bernie Sanders. So, again, this is what's going on with our government. This is who owns the government. So we're going to see probably a lot of legislation put forward that's going to advance the interests of the hard right. Buckle up, man. It's going to be a bad ride. All right. Okay. Damn, we were just going along, aren't we? All right. Let's see. We got a couple more stories here that I want to talk about. There is still got the Ivanka Trump story, and then I'm looking forward to getting to the Pepsi ad, because that's a good. I'm kind of going to go off on that one a little bit, but first, I do want to address the chat, who has been giving some great ideas on what to do for bonuses. Now, I do want to give credit to because a lot of people really like my Around the Nation graphic. Huge credit to Dan Spearin, formerly of Truth Mashup. He's the one that designed it. So, huge credit for him. He designed all the graphics for the show. So, I feel like I should, if I do end up, like, making mugs, or getting mugs with a graphic on it, then I'm going to have to give him a cut of it. It's only fair. But, so, again, if you see him on Twitter, you see him on Facebook, give him like a, give him a thumbs up or something. Be like, hey, I love the graphic work that you've done. because I absolutely do. All right. Anyway, let's go after Ivanka. All right. Okay. Now, Ivanka Trump doesn't quite understand what the word complicit means. When asked by CBS's Gayle King if her and her husband, Jared Kushner, feel at all complicit for what's going on at the White House, she responded with this.
If being complicit is wanting to be a force for good and to make a positive impact, then I'm complicit. I don't know that the critics who may say that of me, if they found themselves in this very unique and unprecedented situation that I am now in, would do any differently than I'm doing. So I hope to make a positive impact. I don't know what it means to be complicit, but you know, I hope time will prove that I have done a good job, and much more importantly, that my father's administration is the success that I know it will be.
Wow. So, again, completely dodged the question, and she has no idea what the word, seemingly has no idea what the word complicit means. If complicit means that I'm doing such a great job, wanting to be such a force for good. No, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. Holy shit, man, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Let me tell you what. So, what does she mean by making positive impact? How? What has she actually done? She's done nothing. How exactly has she been a force for good? For example, her dad, Donald Trump, just reversed Obama-era protections for working women. And then, to top it off, he did it on equal pay day. For fuck's sake. Come on, dude. Hey, man, I know that the critics who might say that, I don't know if the critics who say that of me, if they found themselves in this very unique and unprecedented situation I'm now in, would do any differently than what I am doing. You know that they wouldn't be in that position in the first place. This is pure nepotism. That's the only reason that she's there as an advisor in the White House, along with her husband. Nepotism. That's the only reason she's there. And she has not done anything in this position. See, here's the thing, right? So, I'm kind of assuming that she was there, that she had joined for some legitimate purpose, right? The purpose of stopping Trump from doing anything horrific. Well, maybe everybody who was wrong about that, me included, we were wrong about her, impetus for joining for taking this position. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe we were overstating. Maybe we were thinking that she was actually more liberal, quote unquote, than her father. Maybe that's not true. Maybe she's out there doing exactly what she wants to do, or exactly what she's trying to do, and she thinks all of her father's policies are fantastic. See, I don't think Ivanka Trump is some liberal crusader. Especially, look, yeah, she might have sent out a couple of tweets that went after Steve King. Okay, fair enough. But other than that, how do we know she's liberal at all? Well, we don't. We don't know much about her. And she's done literally nothing in the White House. And again, she only has her position as an advisor to her father because that's her father. This is pure nepotism at its finest. In fact, let me give you an example of where she sat back and did absolutely nothing, where she could have done something, maybe even a public statement. Kushner and Ivanka were skiing in Aspen while Donald Trump was offering conservative Republicans in Congress his support for removing Obamacare's essential health benefits during the effort to repeal and replace Obamacare. So basically, they were skiing in Aspen. Now, those essential health benefits, well, they include things like maternity care and health care for women. Stuff that would impact women. Now, during that whole thing, she didn't make a statement denouncing that. and saying, hey, Mon, these are important. She didn't tell her dad, hey, these are important. You might not want to get rid of them. This will hurt women. No. While this whole thing was going down, she was hitting the powder and having the time of her life up in Aspen. So yeah, you are complicit because you're not doing anything. It's not like you're Tiffany Trump, however, who's out there doing God knows what. She's different. Now, if Ivanka Trump wasn't in the White House, if she was still running her business, she wouldn't be complicit in anything. But she's in the White House. She has a role and an office there. So if you didn't want to be complicit in what your father's administration is doing, then maybe you shouldn't be in the administration whatsoever. You should have never taken that role. But you're in that role and you are complicit. So while she might not know what the meaning of complicit is, she will. Because after all, she's living it. Okay. So now I'm going to go after Pepsi. This is great. All right. Let's see. Now, Pepsi has gotten a lot of heat for their controversial ad featuring Kendall Jenner at a protest handing soda to a police officer. That's very interesting. Now, this ad was released late last night on Tuesday, and the response to it basically lit the internet on fire, and in not a good way. Now, I want to show you this ad full in context, and it's about 2 minutes long, but you can see why people were so outraged. All right, so there's the ad. Hey, man, turns out we were doing this whole protest thing all wrong. All we had to do was just give these cops a Pepsi, and then they wouldn't beat us and tear gas us or pepper spray us. God damn it. God, if we only knew that, protesting would have been so easy. So easy. No wonder everybody was outraged. I was outraged. Why? Look, it's because this trivializes protest. where, of course, police have been caught doing violence to try to stop these protests. Okay? Look, ironically, some of these protests were against people like Kendall Jenner and corporations like Pepsi. Ridiculous. Look, let me make a comparison here, right? So this ad is kind of like Goldman Sachs attempting to co-opt Occupy Wall Street in order to sell a mortgage. And that's what this is like. Okay? That's what that's like. Basically, co-opting a movement to protect some people who think that Black Lives Matter, right? To keep them from getting killed by police. And, of course, co-opting protests against income inequality and the need for healthcare in this country in order to sell crappy soda. Look, that is super tone deaf. You're not getting it. And again, using Kendall Jenner, who I'm sure is a lovely person, to sell it is ridiculous. You know why? Because Kendall Jenner is a representation of the problem. She's super wealthy and doesn't understand the problems that regular people face. She doesn't understand why regular people are protesting. So that's what's going on here. Again, this doesn't even accurately depict the dangers of protesting and police brutality. Al Hearns, executive director of the Marsha P. Johnson Institute and formerly an organizer for Black Lives Matter, said the ad essentially plays down the sacrifices people have historically taken in utilizing protest. Quote, "No one is finding joy from Pepsi at a protest. That's just not the reality of our lives. That's not what it looks like to take bold action." But I think the best one here, the comment that wins the internet, comes from Bernice King. Bernice King is the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. Now, she blasted them on Twitter with a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. at one of his signature protests, and she wrote, "If only Daddy would have known about the power of Pepsi." Oh, savage. That is awesome. And of course, the rest of Twitter is having an absolute field day over this. Now, of course, thanks to this backlash, this epic backlash against Pepsi, they've announced that they will pull this ad. In fact, I had a real hard time actually finding this video. So that's how quickly they pulled this thing. They took it down immediately. Gone. So again, I had a very, very hard time actually finding the video. I think it was even the wrong music. So again, hard to find the ad. Now, in a statement earlier today, they said Pepsi was trying to project a global message of unity, peace, and understanding. Clearly, we missed the mark. By a mile. And we apologize. We did not intend to make light of any serious issue. We are pulling the content and halting any further rollout. We also apologize for putting Kendall Jenner in this position. Now, again, Kendall Jenner, I don't have a problem with her. She is a representation of the problem, but not necessarily the problem. Okay? I don't have any personal issue with her. I don't care about Kendall Jenner. So, yeah, whatever. She's in the middle of this. She's the face of the problem. Again, not necessarily the problem. So I kind of feel bad for her for a little bit. Then I remember how ungodly and unseemly rich she is. Then I don't feel so bad. But anyway, maybe they'll take this opportunity to learn that it's not cool to commercialize everything. That'd be great. Maybe they should realize that, hey, maybe I shouldn't try to make a buck off serious issues facing real Americans. Wouldn't that be great if a corporation was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't try to profit off everything? I know that's our main purpose. We are essentially amoral machines that will try to profit off anything. Well, maybe some humans in there, because humans actually work at corporations and corporations are not humans, they might think, no, this is a bad idea. Let's not do that. Let's scrap the ad. Let's find something else. Let's throw Kendall Jenner into a different commercial that isn't co-opting populist movements against giant corporations, income inequality, and police brutality. That would be fantastic. Somehow I don't think that they're going to do that. Again, this isn't a game. Protest in real life is dangerous. Look, think about Standing Rock, right? At Standing Rock, there were people that were blasted in sub-zero temperatures with water cannons. These people, a lot of people got hypothermia. A lot of people could have died from that. The same thing there at Standing Rock, there was a woman that nearly lost an arm thanks to a police stun grenade. Protest isn't a joke. It's not something that you should take lightly. It's not something that you should co-opt to sell crappy soda. Think about the violent removal of the Occupy Wall Street protesters by police. Think about the massive protests and the response to the ones in Ferguson and in Baltimore and in Chicago and all these different places. It's not a game. It is dangerous, and ads like this, they take away from that. They trivialize it. And that's why you don't try to co-opt them to make an extra dollar. You want to know why people were so angry? That's why they were so angry. And the fact that they don't really understand that, not only as a brand, but as fellow human beings, is why. Okay. So that's it. That's all I got for you today. Round the Nation, right here. TYT Nation, thank you so much for going around the nation with me today. Definitely appreciate that. Appreciate everybody watching, liking this video, and liking our different videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And please help us out. We are desperately needing Patreon funding because of the whole YouTube apocalypse that is happening right now. So if you want to help out, patreon.com/TYT Nation. 400 people, $3 to $5. That's what we need on Patreon to continue the show. So we're going to do that. If you can help me out, definitely appreciate it. Save independent, non-corporate media. All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have Ron Pacone on the show tomorrow for sure. So make sure to tune in then. That's going to be a fun show. We're all trying to survive the YouTube apocalypse together. So we might have a fun discussion on that. And all that stuff. So have an awesome evening. Thank you again for everybody who has who's on the chat, who's also donated to our Patreon Save the Show campaign. Of course, in all the videos, you'll see patreon.com/TYT Nation in the description box. So check that out if you haven't already. All right. Thanks all. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation.